On this episode of Motorsport Recently, we discuss some Formula E news, some IMSA news, and Robert Kubica leaving Williams, as well as all the other news from this week in racing. This is Triple Crown Racing. Let's get into it. Hello everybody and welcome along to Motorsport Recently. My name is Jack McKenzie and joining me on the mic are my usual partners in crime, the wonderful Chris Whitfield and Caitlin Penny commentary. And why is the screen all black?
The screen went black very, very briefly, but it is now going to be okay again, so don't worry about that. Sorry. Hi everyone, I'm Caitlin.
Right, okay.
Hello.
Okay, and I think everything's working okay. Caitlin, you can confirm everybody's unmuted?
Everybody is unmuted. I can see it on my my OBS. It is all working okay. We can hear you loud and clear.
Excellent. Right. Okay. So this week we've got some Formula One news. We have some IMSA news. We have some Formula E news. But unfortunately, we're starting off with a little bit of sad news. So, Chris, can you tell us about what's happened?
Yes. Sadly, NASCAR legend Mike Stefanik passed away on Sunday night following a plane crash in Sterling, Connecticut. Stefanik was a staple of the Northeast short track racing, claiming his first championship in NASCAR's modified tour in his third year in 1989, winning 7 of 26 races that season. He would win the modified tour championship in 1989, 91, 97, 98, 2001, 2002, and 2006. He's only the second driver in NASCAR history to win a championship in 2 separate series in the same year, accomplishing the feat twice in 97 and 98, winning both the Featherlight Modified Tour and Busch North Series titles. In 1999, he moved on to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, driving the Carlin Burners Ford for Dale Phelan, finishing second in the first race of that year at Homestead and scoring 9 further top 10 finishes. He moved back to the modifieds full-time in 2001. He ran in Busch North for 3 more seasons between 2003 and 2005 before returning to the modified tour. During the 2013 UNOH Battle of the Beach at Daytona, his colorful interview garnered international attention, even being featured on The Jay Leno Show. He won his 74th and final modified race at a track he'd always wanted to conquer, but never had before, Bristol Motor Speedway in 2013. He had 12 career K&N East Series victories and 74 Whelen Modified Tour victories, and was only preceded by Richie Evans in terms of championships in the series, with 9 in the Modified Tour. In a very impressive career. Mike Stefanik was 61 years old.
that something like that has happened. So we're dedicating this episode to him.
And it should also be noted that this weekend at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, Canon East Series driver Max McLaughlin and modified driver Tommy Solomito were actually running tribute paint schemes in throwing back to his 97 and 98 championship cars in both the Modifieds and Busch North Series.
That's a nice tribute, I have to say.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think Caitlin moving on from this, Mike Stefanik, first of all, will be sorely missed in the sport. And we also have some, before we begin like normal service here, I believe Caitlin has the an update on a driver we've been really wanting to hear some news out of.
Indeed, we do have some positive news this weekend as well, because of course, if you remember 2 weeks ago, there was a very tragic accident which took the life of Antoine Hubert and threatened the life of Juan Manuel Correa. Correa was placed into an induced coma after developing respiratory problems, but I am very proud to announce that after 2 weeks in a coma, he has awoken, he is conscious. Apparently he is still not very with it, but you wouldn't be after being 2 weeks in a coma. It's just fantastic that he's conscious and he is no longer in critical condition. So Juan Manuel looks like he's going to make it, and that is fantastic news.
Absolutely. Certainly is. And I think with that, it's time to get into a very short red line headlines.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
I was just about to load up the jingle. Okay, here we go. Red light, you know you wanna, you know you wanna, you know you wanna. Headline, it's red line headline, it's red line headline, it's red line headlines. Okay, in my defense, I've had a very busy day. I had a commentary for a GT1 race, like, immediately before this, and, as a result, I didn't get time to set anything up, but I was going to. I promised I was going to, so, yeah, there.
Understandable. Right.
We'll forgive you this one time. No, in all fairness, though, I watched some of it. It was excellent.
Thank you, Chris. Anyway, Redline headlines.
Redline headlines. Okay, so there it is, as Jack said, a very short Redline headlines this week. But there were two very big races that happened. Starting with IMSA, the number 6 Acura DPI crossed the line first in an Acura Team Penske 1-2 in the DPI class. The number 52 car of Pier 1 Matheson Racing took victory with Matt McMurray and Dalton Kellett in LMP2. In GTLM, it was the number 66 Ford taking first place honors in GTLM. And in GTD, it was the number 48 Paul Miller Racing Lamborghini that took victory in that class. The top 3 in DPI were the number 6 Acura, followed by the number 7 Acura, and the 31 Whelan Engineering Cadillac. In LMP2, it's basically been the same order for the past couple of, I think since I'm trying to remember when the last time Performance Tech won in LMP2. But anyway, it was Matt McMurray and Dalton Kellett. In GTLM, it was Joey Hand and Dirk Muller, followed by John Edwards and Jesse Kron, and Antonio Garcia and Jan Magnussen. And in GTD, it was Corey Lewis and Brian Sellers in the Paul Miller Racing Lamborghini, followed by Cooper McNeil and Tony Vielander, and Andy Lally and John Potter in the Magnus Racing Lamborghini. Turning to NASCAR, Martin Truex Jr. has taken victory at Las Vegas after getting past Kevin Harvick with 20 laps to go at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Harvick would go on to finish second, with Brad Keselowski rounding out the top three. Joe Gibbs Racing has now won more than 50% of the races in 2019. The order being Martin Truex, Kevin Harvick, and Brad Keselowski, and that is your Red Line headlines for this week.
Well done,
Excellent,
Chris.
thank you very much.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'd say those were two fairly decent races. I mean, I'm pretty sure the IMSA race was quite good.
It was excellent. Well, IMSA in my mind has the best. IMSA, I've said before, IMSA seems to have the best on-track product.
Totally. Unfortunately,
for my money.
I actually missed the start of this week's IMSA race and then couldn't keep up. And I tried to like watch the start the other day, but I didn't get enough time. And yeah, so anyway, I don't know what's going on for once, but I think I will get around to watching the full race at some point soon. I'm just sorry I can't contribute much this week.
And you know what, Caitlin? Neither can I, because I can't actually. I watched the highlights and can't remember anything that happened apart from. I think the Liquid Molly BMW spun, which is the Turner Motorsport car, and that's about it. So I can't really contribute much either. It's my own podcast.
It felt more like it felt like an early American Le Mans Series race.
I know that Acura was very fast and took 1-2 in qualifying.
And in the race.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. And I tell you what
plus the Cadillacs resurged.
What a qualifying lap that was from Ricky Taylor as well.
Also mention, I mean, even if you haven't watched the highlights or you haven't watched the race, if you have an IMSA race that you need to talk about, you can always say it was a good race, because I've actually never seen a bad IMSA race. I've never seen one that was completely boring.
Very true.
Maybe the end of this year's Rolex.
Not since the DP era ended.
I mean, apart from the end of this year's Rolex 24, but that wasn't the entire race. For overall, that was a pretty good race. I vaguely remember what happened in the NASCAR race. I mean, that was a good job. It was a good drive for Martin Truex Jr. to get by Kevin Harvick. He did that with 20 laps to go, and it's a good result for Martin Truex Jr. Truex Jr. has won this year, but I don't remember where else.
Charlotte.
Okay.
Charlotte, and I think Dover this year.
Okay.
One thing actually that I kind of wanted Martin Truex to win, strictly because he had actually run with Mike Stefanik in Busch North during the I believe he ran in. I'm trying to remember if he ran. Let me see this. He ran, I believe, in Busch North with him. Plus, he's from New Jersey. So I kind of wanted.
I'm joking, of course, because my best friend's from New Jersey. But anyway, carry on.
Well, some could argue, but no. but no, the thing is, he basically, I wanted a Northeast driver to win, like a Joey Logano or a Martin Truex, or even a Ryan Preece, for that matter. The thing that really struck me, though, and brace yourselves, brace your impact, brace for impact, it's rant time.
Go on.
Kyle Busch.
Ah, you're gonna rant about
Kyle Busch.
Oh no.
I'm sorry, but his comments after the race about the incident with him and Garrett Smithley, saying that drivers that race in late models that haven't even raced in late models should not be in the Cup Series. My thing about that is, if NASCAR were to actually do something with the smaller teams, I'm trying to know how to word this, without finding I'm trying to find the tweet at the same time.
Okay.
Heck.
So, what's the problem with the smaller teams in NASCAR at the minute? I've heard a few stories.
Well, basically, this all started a few years ago when, he actually said this on television. We've got guys that have never won late model races running out here. It's pathetic. And he also said that he's only doing the interview because so he wouldn't get fined. While I do like the fact that we have someone like this, like an opinionated person in the sport, which has been lacking since Tony Stewart left, when he's going on the attack against the smaller teams, like your Rick Wares, your Spires, your like the Rick Ware team, the Spire Motorsport guys, Jay Robinson, Premium Motorsport, that kind of thing. My real problem with this is I had something there, but I've lost it.
All that build-up and you can't remember what you're gonna say?
Oh my goodness. I thought...
First of all, the incident was his fault.
Okay.
Smithley was trying to get out of the way.
And it was Kyle Busch's fault.
Yeah, he slammed into him. He caved his own nose in.
Right.
So basically, the incident was his fault. No one else's.
I didn't see it, but I'm glad you got that off your chest.
But
Yeah, okay,
that doesn't change the fact that you don't attack fellow competitors like this. NASCAR has it in for the smaller teams, and has been since Rob Kaufman. Since the infamous Rob Kaufman, who when he's not trying to murder Audi LMP1 drivers at Le Mans, cites the source of the 2011 24 Hours of Le Mans for that. It's his profiteering, the fact that he wanted to profit off of the sale of Michael Waltrip Racing. That's why we have the charter system that NASCAR is stuck with. He's openly stated in the past that he hates the small teams and he wishes they would go away. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but
that would seriously deplete the NASCAR grids.
It's already done so.
I mean, if the small teams went away, who would you have left? So you'd have Chip Ganassi, you'd have Joe Gibbs, you would have Penske, and
front row.
That's it.
Roush.
Because one of the main thing that always stands out to people about NASCAR when they watch for the first time is the massive grid. You know, you have a massive pack of 40 or so cars, and you don't really get that in any other top level series. And I suppose to have a series like that, you do have to have smaller teams. You do have to have less experienced drivers. You have to have a little bit of unprofessionalism, I suppose. But you know, that's NASCAR.
And the thing is, those smaller teams employ people that give people that don't ordinarily get a chance to move up. They give them that opportunity.
Yeah, good point.
Like, and not just drivers. It's not just drivers. It's crew members. It's crew members. It's people that run the social media accounts. It goes all the way down to the truck and motor coach operators. Like the truck and coach operators. They're basically employed by the small teams. Even the people that maintain the race shop, they're employed by them, by these small teams. And the fact that NASCAR has actually wanted to drive the smaller guys away is just ludicrous. And I remember years ago, there would be 60 cars attempting to qualify for 43 spots.
Wow.
The 1994 Brickyard 400 actually had the most cars you'd that in the modern era. 82 cars attempting 42 spots.
That is ridiculous.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, this
now we're struggling to even have 36. So I'm gonna defend the small teams on this one. Kyle Busch, your comments are way out of line.
Wait, this channel won't be probably active until 2021. Says, let's say that Kyle Busch is like Michael Schumacher between 1994 and 1997.
I don't get the comparison.
Michael Schumacher a bit mouthy back then, or?
He was always quite arrogant, yeah, so I suppose that's kind of similar to Kyle Busch. I don't know, because I don't know Kyle Busch well enough. I don't watch NASCAR, but anyway, I presume he's trying to say that he's quite arrogant and stuff, which sounds about right to me.
Anyway, in the words of the fake tweets that you get in NASCAR Heat 4, what is your major malfunction, Kyle Busch? Anyway.
First of all, that quote was from a Stanley Kubrick film.
What's it?
I'm trying to remember the name of it.
Whatever the case, that might have been the angriest rant that we've had since the Le Mans entry list was announced for last year, and we did an episode on that.
Yeah, you
anyway,
were lying when you said you were going to rant, were you?
Right, I warned you. Full Metal Jacket, by the way, was the quote. Was the film with that quote? It is, "What is your major malfunction?"
And that gets used in NASCAR Heat 4. Right, should we move on to our feature stories?
I think that's a really good idea because let me just pop my heart pills.
All right. Okay, we start off with IMSA, and first of all, Porsche have unveiled their livery for the 2019 edition of Moto Petit Le Mans. This particular livery is a throwback to the Coca-Cola liveries of the 1980s, and they've actually renewed their partnership with the popular soft drink brand. This is Porsche's 5th retro livery that has been featured on the 911 RSR. Previous liveries have included a pink pig throwback, a Rothmans throwback.
Lowbrack.
I'm having a bit of a brain malfunction today.
What is your major malfunction?
A Brumos throwback and a GT1 throwback. Petit Le Mans will also be the last factory event for the current iteration of the 911 RSR. And the Coca-Cola car, you'll actually see from the thumbnail of this podcast, absolutely fantastic looking livery. I love it.
It actually, and that Coke livery was actually made famous by Bob Aiken between 1982 and 1988. First on a 935, and then the 956, 962. So I am absolutely glad that I'm really glad that I'm not sure actually if both cars are getting that livery or if it's just the one. But Porsche, if you're watching this, if you guys have the throwback to the second car, that isn't like that's an unused throwback, may I suggest a throwback to the Lowenbrow colors?
I just want to say,
Lowenbrow Porsche.
This is kind of I now kind of want to collect die-cast cars. I want one for the Pink Pig, the Rothmans, the Brumos, the GT1. I wouldn't mind having some of those die-casts. I mean, I have a couple of die-casts. I think the only race car one I have is a Lotus Evora GT4 that I got like 6 years ago. But I wouldn't mind having some Porsche 911 RSR diecast. Anyway, this channel won't be probably active until 2021. That's a mouthful. So I'm just gonna call you 2021 from now on. And he's actually shed some light on what he meant by the Kyle Busch Schumacher comparison, and he says, and by the way, I was comparing Kyle to Schumi because of the fact that they were pushing their rivals on purpose for their own benefit. So that sort of explains it, I suppose. Anyway, we have some other IMSA news. Chris, would you like to tell us about that?
Yes, and it's big. Scott Atherton is going to be retiring as IMSA president effective at the end of the 2019 IMSA season after an incredible 34 years in motor racing. Atherton has previously worked with CART, Laguna Seca, Nazareth Speedway, Auto Club Speedway, Panos, the American Le Mans Series, and began with IMSA in 2013. While Atherton will be retiring as president, he will still remain on IMSA's board of directors. When I heard this, I'm going to actually say this, that I just want to thank Scott Atherton for all he's done in the sport. He's done so much for the sport. I believe he actually was one of the first presidents of the American Le Mans Series. I'll have to check on that, but honestly, he's part of the reason why IMSA is continues to be such a great series.
Actually, yeah, I have to agree with you. I've never seen a president of any motor racing series that listens to the fans like Scott does, manages the series like Scott does, and he does an absolutely incredible job. And it's actually turned IMSA into one of the most incredible series you've ever seen. And I've loved. I mean, if you listen to some Radio Le Mans stuff, he would go on there and he'll answer questions about IMSA. And when else do you see presidents of series doing that? You just don't see that. And thank you very much, Scott Atherton, for putting together such an incredible series.
Here, here. Admittedly, there were some dark times in ALMS when there was only 2 cars in LMP2 or in LMP1, but they stuck through it. He stuck through, and he committed, and that's something that I think we're all going to miss in the series, and also whoever succeeds him is going to have some monstrously large shoes to fill.
Yes, they certainly will.
But we wish Scott all the best in retirement, and don't be a stranger. Don't be a stranger, huh?
Thing is, though, his influence will still be around. He'll be on the IMSA board of directors, so that'll always be good to have an influence like him. But it'd be interesting to see who the next president of IMSA will, and I'm hoping it's somebody who's just as good and probably unlikely, but hopefully even better than Scott Atherton. Anyway, right, should we move on to some Formula One news?
So, Robert Kubica, I believe that we all expected this, but it has now been confirmed that he will not be returning to Williams for 2020. He says, "I would like to thank the team for the last 2 years for helping me to make my comeback to Formula One great possible. I've enjoyed my time with Rocket Williams Racing, both as reserve and development driver and as a race driver this year, but I feel that the time is now right for me to move on to the next chapter in my career," said Kubica in a statement. Kubica is expected to make a move to DTM, or German Touring Cars it says here, but has not ruled out another F1 return. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. His F1 return was met with challenges, criticisms and difficulty, but regardless, his
not
F1
just from me.
return will still be remembered as an incredible comeback, and he has said himself that this is the greatest achievement of his life.
But Kubica's return to Formula One, it certainly was inspiring. Unfortunately, it was unsuccessful, and that's probably quite a bit in part to the car that he had. But regardless, to come back from something like that and to come back to Formula One, so obviously Kubica was involved in a rally accident, I believe, in 2011.
Yeah.
And he almost lost his left arm from it, I believe.
He basically did lose his left arm.
Was it his left arm?
Yes, he can barely use it now. It's his right arm, yeah.
For him to come back to Formula One after something like that happened is absolutely incredible, and it should be something to be marveled at. But that doesn't mean that he won't find success in another series. As we said before, he could be making a move to German touring cars, and I don't know, maybe a DTM ride might be on the cards in the future. So I think if he can get himself into another series and he can learn the ropes, I reckon he has the opportunity to do something really, really good. And he might even do something like Alex Zanardi did, and he might try and do some sports car racing as well, which would be incredible to see.
Well, you forget he tried to do that. He was actually signed on to drive with Baikalas, but said some rather harsh words about the car and was promptly turfed at the prologue test. But I will say about Robert Kubica. Okay, while I admire the fact that he was that he made a comeback, I still don't understand. I get the comeback angle, but he did not impress me this season at all.
To be fair, he didn't really have grounds to do so. I mean, his car was pretty terrible. Like, not even George Russell, who was an F2 champion, could impress with that car. So I think that's perfectly understandable. Well, not really. I mean, he's still under... I'm pretty sure George Russell has less points than Robert Kubica anyway. So
guys, I'd like to give my opinion on this. So, there have been a lot of people who have bashed Robert Kubica for this and said that, you know, he is ruining the Williams or whatever, and that's just simply not the case. From Robert Kubica's point of view, he has done everything right, he's done everything that he needs to, and for his career and for his life, it is a major achievement that he's come back to Formula One. You know, he's done nothing wrong, he's great. And I still remember him as, or I still see him as one of the greatest Formula One drivers of all time. We just never really got to see that of him because of his accident and because of, you know, because his return was so late, basically. I think it was fantastic to see him back. To be honest, it's very easy as well to say that Williams made a mistake by putting him in the car, because it's clear that he's not at the same pace as George Russell. He may have one more point than George Russell, but you have to remember that the race he scored his point in was the only race this season where he's outraced Russell. Russell outraced him at every single other race, and it's just unfortunate for Russell that it happened to be that race that gave Williams a point in the Hockenheim ring. So it's easy to say that Williams have made a mistake, but I'm not sure they have done, because I think that if you put literally anyone, any professional in that car, they would still have 1 point. You know, I don't think anyone really could have done better in terms of points, so I don't think it would have made much of a difference, and that means that it may end up being really good for Williams, because he brings in a lot of money from his sponsorship. And I say that when you're in that situation, you know, when you have a car that you know is going to be a dud, and they did, because, you know, they didn't turn up to the first few days of pre-season testing, and I know they'd already signed Kubica, but they would have already known they were struggling. And I have to say that Williams and Kubica probably did everything right, even though they're coming last every time, if that makes sense. Although, yeah, it
does.
It's not a surprise that he's not returning for next year.
So that
I'm surprised
that does give us the opportunity to talk about some silly season stuff. So who do you think will actually replace Kubica in that Williams seat?
So, I think it's probably between Nicholas Latifi and Nico Hülkenberg. I reckon that Hülkenberg will... I'm not sure, actually. I'm not sure whether Hülkenberg would rather go for Williams or whether he'd rather go out of F1 completely. His only other opportunity, really, is Alfa Romeo, which he has been linked to, and other people as well are saying that he may be pushing for Red Bull, so for Toro Rosso. I can't really see that happening, although then again they are low on drivers, so it might happen. But yeah, I think that Williams is probably Nico Hülkenberg's most realistic option in Formula One. And if it's not him, it's going to be Nicholas Latifi, who is the current test driver, and I think does deserve a seat in F1. Although if Nicholas Latifi gets a seat, I'm quite upset that Nick de Vries won't.
Just want to say, though, as you talked about him maybe going for the Alfa Romeo seat, and that has been brought up a couple of times, but apparently Alfa Romeo are backing Giovinazzi, and I think Giovinazzi actually has priority over that seat.
Well, they'll say that
Nico
for now,
Hülkenberg.
of course. Yeah, they'll say that for now, although he hasn't been confirmed for next year yet. I think partially because he's Italian, he does definitely.
I was going to say, yeah,
he does definitely have an advantage. But he hasn't been signed, and I suppose they'll have to say that that they back Giovinazzi for now. Also, this channel won't be probably active until 2021. Says Latifi is a more likely chance to replace Kubica.
I think it's actually. I think Nicholas Latifi is going to replace Kubica at Williams.
Then you have two Canadians on the grid, Chris. When was the last time that happened?
1986, I think.
I'm gonna have a look.
Right. While you do that, you can tell us about this a bit later. However, we do have some Formula E news. Chris, would you like to start us off with that?
Yes, in our favorite wheeled hairdryer series, Antonio Felix da Costa has been confirmed to be driving for DS Techeetah for the upcoming season. This comes after he unexpectedly broke his factory ties with BMW and his seat was given to Maximilian Günther. This move had been expected for a while. As soon as Andre Lauderer left for Porsche, many people suspected this move was going to happen. And sure enough, it did. Da Costa joins reigning champion Jean-Eric Verne. And yeah, I think it's actually going to be a good fit for him.
It should be. The Techeetah seat is one of the strongest in Formula E, as proven time and time again. Probably a little bit stronger than BMW I Andretti, actually. So if Da Costa can settle in and he can put on some good performances, he should probably do pretty well in DS Techeetah. Anyway.
Sorry?
Go ahead.
No, never mind. I was going to completely change the subject, so I shouldn't do that now. Carry on.
Guys, we also have some other Formula E news. And the second-seated Durex Dragon has been filled by Formula E rookie Nico Muller. Now, in case unless you are heavily invested in European racing, you may not have heard of Nico Muller. Don't ask about his family because we couldn't really tell you anything. He's seemingly unrelated to Dirk Muller, who is apparently unrelated to Jörg Muller, who is unrelated to French driver Yvan Muller.
Yvan Muller.
Muller. Anyway, whatever the case, Nico is a Swiss-born racing driver. Has raced in many open-wheel series such as Formula Renault 3.5, Formula Renault 2 Liter, and GP3. Most recently, he has raced in Blancpain, the Intercontinental GT Challenge, and DTM. And he'll be joining Brendan Hartley in the second Dragon seat.
Caitlin, thoughts?
Yeah, I think he's going to do well. He's currently second in DTM. He's obviously a strong competitor. You know, he's won Formula Renault 3.5 races, even GP3 races, DTM races. He's got a lot of credentials and, you know, seems to be probably what Durex Dragon need, I'd say. Although all of the different Muellers are confusing, I'll give you that.
It is.
I have a guide. Dirk and Jörg are brothers. Okay. Yvan is a Frenchman that likes to punt people.
No. Dirk Muller and Jörg Muller aren't brothers. They're not related.
Really?
They're German. They're two Germans that have factory rides. Yvan is the Frenchman who likes to punt people. Likes to punt people in touring car racing, and Nico is actually a really good, solid choice. I think to replace to go into Geox.
Yeah, I'm not sure who else would have really filled that seat. Actually, I mean, if you'd predicted who was going to fill the Dragon seat, who do you think would have done it?
You just don't know with Formula E, do you? It seems so, like,
not
random.
really.
And, you know, they just pull drivers out of the blue, and you're like, oh, they're doing it now. So...
Like, oh, Nick de Vries is doing it!
It's not like Formula 1 where you can predict things like that. It just tends to, like, happen, if that makes sense.
think it's because there's a new series and there isn't really a established pool of drivers, so that does make sense. I mean, they could have pulled somebody. They could have pulled somebody from the iPace Trophy. I mean, the iPace Trophy is the support and probably the closest thing they have to a ladder series, but really have an established pool of drivers or an established place where you can pull drivers from. So yeah, you don't really know. You're right there. And we have a last little bit of Formula E news. Caitlin, would you like to tell us about that?
Okay, so Formula E has added another race to its calendar. The Indonesian capital of Jakarta will host a race this coming season on the 6th of June. And I say, who really cares? Like, Formula E tracks are all the same anyway. There's, you know...
So it'll be a straight, a giant hairpin...
A right angle corner. Yeah, right angle corner.
A right angle... straight, tiny Mickey Mouse chicane, and then straight.
I should say I'm partially joking by saying that. I do think that it's important to spread awareness of environmental factors in Jakarta, since they have one of the worst environments in the world. It's so much smog, and the pollution levels over there are ridiculous. So yeah, I think it's a good thing that they're spreading awareness of that. Although I must say, it's very hard to get excited about the actual circuit.
Yeah, I'd actually like them to start going to like just normal racetracks now. I think maybe a short. I'm not sure if this track exists outside of the Forza games, but I'm pretty sure Sebring has a short circuit, so I reckon that'd be a good circuit for Formula E to go to. Maybe even like Brands Hatch Indy or something. Just some short circuits or something. I reckon it's time for them to stop.
Yes, but the problem
these expensive street circuits.
But the problem with it is, unfortunately, the Formula E doesn't believe in actual circuits, so they can't really do that. Plus, Formula E cars do not go up hills. Brands Hatch has hills.
They just need to be able to do so. I mean, I don't think this sport can move forward unless it can adapt and integrate itself into the normal world of racing.
I still maintain that they've gone about Formula E in completely the wrong way, and always have done. Meanwhile, this channel won't probably be active until 2021, says Formula E might organise an Area 51 E-Prix, because why not, I suppose? They have the money and the right to do that. Okay, maybe they have, like, the money to do that, but the right? Nah.
They don't have the right to do it. They will be shot on sight if they try to have an E-Prix at Area 51.
And this channel will...
to the raid that happened there.
And I have to say this, and this channel will not be active until 2021. There, now I've said it.
Yes, you have. I think it's all of us who said it now. So the raid was he is of course referring to the raid that was supposed to happen there, which was a bit of a fizzer. I believe 150 people turned up to that, and only one man was arrested for urinating near the gate. And I think maybe a few other people were arrested. I think a couple of YouTubers got arrested as well. But
what is this?
Was Logan Paul one of them?
What is this? Motorsport recently or Captain Crunch?
Yeah, you know, that Captain Crunch's Current Affair, I hear, is an excellent podcast, and I believe you may actually hear some familiar voices on some of them, on some of the episodes.
Thank you very much for that plug, Chris. We'll probably end up talking about the Area 51 raid on the next episode of Captain Crunch's Current Affair.
I want in on that.
The channel with a very long name, I'm going to call it that from now on. Also, the cars are too large at the New York Race 1, and the car's not even fitting into Turn 1. Not just New York Race 1, Hong Kong. I mean, why are the corners so narrow at Hong Kong?
Because the streets are narrow.
And Chile, my goodness. Sort out your track design. And I think on that note, it's time to move on to our final segment of the day. it's time for...
I'm not ready.
Oh no.
I am so sorry, guys.
It's fine.
Okay, here we go. It's time for...
Miscellaneous stories and points that we missed, and therefore recovering ITM. Bing!
Bing, indeed. Take it away.
Well, this is mostly Jack dominated one, because a lot of these are from Australia.
Yes, so S5000 will join the support bill for the Australian Grand Prix in 2020 alongside Australian TCR. So, and I think the supercars are definitely still racing there. So we have a wide variety of cars that will be racing around the Albert Park Street Circuit, and that's very exciting. Also, Penrite Racing are going to be running a KISS, as in the rock band, sponsored livery at the Gold Coast 600 and the Newcastle 500. So that's pretty cool.
I saw those. Yeah, those are awesome.
So cool.
Can I just say, Betty Klemenko is one of the best owners in the Virgin Australia Supercar Championship. Always has, and I will always support Betty. She is I can't say what I. She's an awesome human being, and like, I think the sport needs more of her. More of her, please. I want more of her.
Not just supercars. Let's have her in literally every other form of motorsport. I reckon that's what we need. That needs to occur.
Hear, hear.
Anyway, Chris, we have some WEC news.
Yes, it involves Jim Glickenhaus and revealing its new 007 hypercar, and immediately getting sued by Ian Broccoli and and immediately being sued by the family of Ian Broccoli.
And Ian Fleming, and Ian Fleming for that matter as well.
Yes.
But regardless of the James Bond lawsuit that will probably happen soon, it's very pretty. It's a fantastic looking car if you've seen it.
When I saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's beautiful." Yeah.
I mean,
Mind you, I was the same way about the Bob Akin Porsche. I was like, Bob Akin Porsche. There were Bob Akin noises happening.
I'm going to make a compilation at the end of the year of Chris making weird noises on Motorsport. So if it comes to fruition, the hypercar grid should be one of the best looking grids in motorsport, probably ever, and one of the best sounding too, with the Valkyrie making some nice V12 noises. Anyway, we also have some other WEC news.
Yes, it would involve Luca Giotto, who will be making his WEC debut with Ginetta at the 6 Hours of Fuji coming up. And, Caitlin, how's Luca Giotto been doing in Formula 2 this season?
Really, really well. He just took another podium at Monza last weekend, which moves him to... Oh, he's just... Actually, he didn't score well in the second race. I think something happened. So he's hanging on for dear life to that third place spot at the minute. It's going to be really, really close between him and Jack Aitken in the last part of the season. And who's to say he's not going to jump Nicholas Latifi for second? That would really be quite something. It's actually really close between Latifi, Giotto, Aitken, Sete Camera. Any of those guys could claim second. But yeah, Luca Giotto... Sorry, I got a bit off topic there. Two wins so far this season. One in a feature race, one in a sprint race, and 5 P2s as well. Yeah, he's good. I reckon that he's going to be very, very good for Ginetta.
Doesn't really matter though, because Toyota is going to win anyway.
Very true.
Well,
yes, I mean...
Well, they might.
They will. Unless something
Stranger things have happened.
Unless things go horribly wrong for Toyota, but
Mind you, Fuji's another race that's kind of a meme, as it were, in WEC because of the when they had because of the constant rain they have, the fact that they have the track safari with buses on the track during practice.
I would love to do that. I would absolutely love to go on the track safari. How cool would that be?
Me too, but that would.
I'd love to get a side by side shot of a Toyota LMP1 car with I think a Fuso motor coach.
I was gonna say
that would.
That's great.
That'd be the dream.
That's great, but it would never be allowed anywhere except Japan.
Yeah, only in Japan. Only in Japan. I mean, Japan's.
Well, it's because Japan is basically. I think Japan has some of genuinely the best racing.
Does this happen in green flag practice or just in the warm up to the race?
I believe it's.
I don't think it would happen in
green flag practice.
I don't think it would be green flag practice. Surely not.
I know they wave a white flag to warn the cars when the bus is coming up, but yeah.
There was also one of the other ones was during the heavy rainstorm. There was one guy that was actually making some barbecue on a little rotisserie he made in his tent.
Amazing.
And basically during that red flag in I think 2016 when they had the big red flag and they shortened the race due to rain. This fan was just basically like lying there with a little screen heating up I forget what it was, but it was some kind of food.
Yes, it would be, considering it was made on a rotisserie, but It
was one of those small rotisseries. I'm actually trying to scroll through to find the photo of it, because I took a screenshot of it. Because of course I did.
Wonderful.
Yes. Right, we can come back to your food thing at the end, but some IndyCar news.
Yes, there will be a 5th Andretti Autosport car. As Harding Steinbrenner and Andretti Autosport have aligned to field Colton Herta in the number 88.
Hooray! That should be good.
Which is one of the big dominoes to fall. Per their statement, Andretti Autosport announced today that the team will join forces with Harding Steinbrenner Racing via a partnership that will see Andretti field a 5th entry for the 2020 NTT Data IndyCar Series. The number 88 Honda will join the Andretti stable under the Andretti Harding Steinbrenner Autosport banner. Team principals Mike Harding, I almost said Mike Harmon, Applebee's when, and George Michael Steinbrenner IV will join Michael Andretti as leadership partners of the 88 team. The partnership is born from a successful technical alliance with Andretti Technologies and Harding Steinbrenner Racing, which provided engineering support through the 2019 season. Additionally, the relationship provided a development environment for Colton Herta, who will return to Andretti to pilot the number 88 as part of a multi-year agreement. Excellent.
Nice.
Herta, who climbed the European racing ranks before joining Andretti Autosport for the 2017 and 2018 Indy Light season, currently ranks 3rd in the IndyCar Rookie of the Year standings with 1 win and 5 top 10 finishes. And there you have it.
Yes.
That's one of the big dominoes to fall because, like, there were talks that he could be going to the second McLaren seat. In,
Very
like,
true.
the second,
I remember
yeah.
people saying that, yeah.
I'm
And
pretty
there
sure
was-
Marcus Ericsson and James Hinchcliffe will probably end up filling the McLaren seats.
Boy, I hope so.
Should be a good lineup. That'll be that'd be awesome to see Marcus Ericsson and James Hinchcliffe in McLaren colours. I can't wait. Anyway, right. We also have some more Australian news. That's why most of the news for this week is all Australian news, basically. So, Seven Sport is closing in on a broadcast deal for Australian TCR and S5000 in 2020, which should be pretty cool because that'll be awesome to have these two awesome Australian motorsports on network, and it's good that it's getting onto a big network like Seven Sport. I mean, I know SBS is good, but it'll be better on Seven or reach more people if it's on Seven Sport.
Is it free to air? Free to view?
I'm not sure because Seven Sport isn't the main Seven channel, so.
Right.
Presumably it would be because their slogan is literally live and free.
Oh, it is then.
I would have thought it would be on something like Seven Mate, but obviously not. Because the Bathurst 12 Hour was on 7 Mate, but I guess that was only a one-off, so that makes sense. Also, ARG has won a tender to host a TCR endurance race at Mount Panorama, and my only question for that is why? I mean, we already have a production car race, which is a touring car race anyway, and that's an endurance race, so basically we're getting another touring car endurance race, which is a little bit pointless. I would have hoped to see something a little bit different, but still.
Jack, you forget that we love the but you see, we love the touring car race. I think it might be 1,000. Another 1,000, just like what they ran in '97 and '98.
Yeah, but I was kind of hoping to see something radically different take to the mountain for once. Like, I mean,
and according to the article I shared to you, it's not just that. It's not just like that weekend is not just going to be about the touring cars. According to Matt Braid, we look forward to bringing significant international focus to Bathurst with competitors coming from all over the world to race in the S5000, TCR, Touring Car Masters, LMP, and TA2 categories in what will be the grand finale of the global motorsport calendar each year.
Did you just say S5000?
Yes.
Racing on them. Okay, you know what? Scratch everything I've just said before. I absolutely 100% agree with that.
I knew we would.
So
Maybe we would have
S5000,
converted him.
S5000 are genuinely racing at Mount Panorama.
That's what it says, apparently.
Seriously?
It's gonna be awesome. I can't wait.
Can we pull that? Can we pull Caitlin saying seriously on
For people who
that's
don't
the
know,
pull quote.
For people who don't know what S5000 is, it's single-seater racing. It's like
awesome.
it's like small cars that kind of resemble Formula 1 cars, sort of. Like, how do those race up Mount Panorama? That is one of the most radical. You say you want it radical, Jack. That's one of the most radical ideas that I've ever heard in my life, and I can't wait to see it.
Why didn't you say that S5000 was racing at Mount Panorama? I would have just completely scratched everything I said before. This is awesome.
I'm shocked. I never thought anything like that would ever happen. Surely they can't do it. Surely.
Well, apparently they are, and I'm very excited now.
And also, for those that don't know, S5000 is the is basically Formula One cars with a big Australian V8 supercar engine in it.
And
All I can say to that is, hello, Qantas. I'd like to book my flight, please.
I'd love it if you guys came down to Australia. It'd be awesome. We could do an episode of Motorsport recently where we're all in the same room. I feel like that'd be an absolutely amazing spectacle and be amazing to
You want to pay for that, Jack?
That would be a cracker.
Okay, maybe at some point in the future. I'm actually going to try and save up to go endurance racing in the Tekka Championship. So that should be good if that comes to fruition. That's an idea that I've had, and I found a way to do it. So after I do some racing, I'll see if I can pay for you guys to come down to Australia. That'd be awesome. Anyway, right, to round off miscellaneous stories and points that we've missed and therefore covering now, TM Bing, I want to wish a happy birthday to Project Cars 2. And it was released on the 22nd of September 2017. It's the 22nd of September 2019, which means it's its birthday. And of course, Project Cars 2 has become a massive part of what we do here at Triple Crown Racing. I like to I like to cover my racing that I do there, and that's awesome that it's been around for that long. And Chris has just sent the picture of the man doing some barbecuing at Fuji.
He is barbecuing some sushi. He's barbecuing some fish and fanning it with a little handheld fan. I love Fuji.
Spectators in the rain, no hex given.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I like the family friendly creative cursing there, but
that's called a minced oath.
No.
But anyway.
Minced oath.
I can tell you the story about why it's called a minced oath, but that's not for the podcast. Anyway,
for the podcast. Anyway, while we would like to finish on a man doing some fish, and the Project Cars 2 birthday, unfortunately some news broke just at the start of the podcast that we do need to address.
Yeah, indeed. That is Dick Van Ekris, who is the team boss of the Ekris Motorsport team, the GT4 team, which runs in the European GT4 Championship. It's just been announced that he's passed away. It's a big shame. He was a familiar face within the GT4 paddock. His team is and was very successful. They run BMW M4 GT4s, and I'm sure that they will race on in his memory. So yeah, Dick Van Ekris will be missed.
Rest in peace, Dick Van Ekris. And on that note, it is time to end. I've been Jack McKenzie, and joining me on the mic has been the wonderful Chris Whitfield and Caitlin Penny commentary. We hope you've enjoyed the show today. And also link to Finnicaro's page in the description below. He does the graphic that you see on screen every single episode. So, and we do have credits, don't we?
No, we don't. Sorry, Jack.
Okay, never mind. It's I think I've just mentioned everybody that needs to mention anyway. So anyway, thanks as always. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Ta-ta.
Ta-ra.